Welcome to Free Range. Scott Lemriel reveals the deliberately hidden truth and the way for others to recover it with knowing certainty by their own direct awakening experiences. To be effective, revealing hidden truth must also involve assisting others, with friends from very far out of town, to recover who they are and all they once knew before it was taken from them. Here is your host, Gail of Gaia, with her guest, Scott Lemriel.
Okay, now we're recording.
Okay, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever time it is, wherever you are. This is Gail of Gaia, and this is Free Range, and we're back with Scott Lemriel. And
after a bit of hiatus, right?
Yes, exactly. And I'm so happy to have you back on, Scott. I've just had a lot of going on in my personal life, and I just needed some time off. And I think it was a good break for you too. But anyway, we're back, and we're ready to go again.
Well, I never know where we're going to go on these journeys because many other beings I co-create with and who I trust out of knowing them, not just out of faith or belief. And I'm referring to beings that are not on this planet, that did not grow up on this planet being subconsciously brainwashed to react in fear of everything, fear of the future, fear of bombs, fear of this, fear of that. That's how governments stay in power and stay in the status quo. But even as we speak, people in those arenas don't want to be in those arenas anymore the way they are. People that operate classified systems around the world have to deliberately lie, a negative output of imagination, to their fellow beings in order to justify why they do it. And this hurts them, hurts their families. It undermines their lives. They get diseased, they die, pass on their lineage to their offspring, and so forth. It's not a good situation because ultimately deception leads to destruction of the people doing it. What we want to avoid is destruction and death to change this world, because that's been tried before and it doesn't produce results. It's just death and destruction, and people have to start all over again, get another body and try to get it right. So I co-create with beings who want to do something for the first time in a different way that will affect this planet and its people in a different way, in a way that will retire what people call evil, which I will call any kind of subconscious program of a negative nature that influences the nervous system of people to think in a fearful way about their present life or the future is evil.
I agree.
Period.
We have a lot of evil going on.
Anything and everything anyone in this world puts out to their fellow beings that is of a fearful nature of the future is helping to cement themselves and fellow beings in a trap, a reincarnative trap of unconsciousness, life after life. It's nothing but nonsense, because there is no constructive good that can come from putting out fear of the future to anyone for any reason. The hidden classified people on this planet put that out by deceiving and being dishonest to people because they want to protect their little reverse engineering weapons technology and so forth. That thinking came out of World War II. The same people that thought it was cool to set off a hydrogen bomb in our own atmosphere and radiate the Earth just to test them are the same people that tried to push the button to annihilate us many times during the former Cold War with the Soviet Union. And it was stopped from beings from space, not from Earth. We're not alone in this universe. If we were, we'd all be dead right now. This would be a radioactive planet. Beings from elsewhere are not going to tolerate that. They don't want to run governments here and take over the responsibility of this planet. But they're not.
Actually, I think it would be a good thing if they did, because
they're not going to tolerate that kind of thing, because a bunch of unconscious people running around in bodies they don't even remember who they are don't have the right to blow themselves up and affect billions or more in other parallel dimensions and other realities. We never had that right. We don't deserve to have that right, and we're not going to be given that right, because we cannot be given the right to misuse free will to that degree. That is not part of the way the universe works, at least not anymore. So I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I wanted to get that statement out so people understand that my work here on this planet has nothing whatsoever to do with doubt, fear, speculation, theory, debate, any negative emotion whatsoever in any way, shape, or form. People have tried to get me on shows or get me involved with things that would go after people they consider to be either telling a deception on the internet or outright lies or putting out, something which is considered to be negative. That's not my job for being here. I have to tell people like that I don't get involved in debate, speculation, putting up my fist to take down the bad guys and all that nonsense. That just creates negative output. And that allows negative beings out there to run a control on such people. Because without them knowing it, they're putting a negative fear of the future out there, and then something can grab onto it. And they're doing it of misused free will. They're thinking, this is a good thing. Let's wake everybody up, and then we can topple the bad regimes on Earth. Put people up against the wall and shoot them and all that.
I know.
No, listen, Gail, all that does is trap the beings doing it. It can't work that way. You can't create a positive with a negative. In fact, you can't create change on a world using positive and negative. The lower stream of energies on the lower planes of time and space, because they weave around each other like a wave and they're unreliable. You can't change anything that way. So I work with the HU, the omnipresent first sound behind all creation, which is not nuclear, it's not made of atoms, it's not vulnerable to the laws of physics, quantum physics, or any kind of physics. It is energy, but not as is known by people or that remember it on Earth today. Because beings like us are not physical bodies. We're spherical energy, like a sun, a planet, or moon, which those objects are made in our image. We are spherical, and we run bodies. And people on Earth have been made to completely forget all about that. They think they're a body, and they got a soul somewhere tucked away. They don't even understand. They don't know what it looks like, what it functions like, or how to move around the multi-universe, the multi-dimensional universe of true free will. For instance, people on Earth think they have free will. Look at the condition of the planet. Are they trying to say that free will creates that?
That's a good point. That's a very good point.
Okay, number two, if they don't remember who they are, that is a being and not a body, and what to go do with itself and how to use the higher faculties and move themselves around the multiverse, and then they get on Earth and say they have free will, how can you make good decisions about your world, its people, as government and classified people? If you don't know that, you're going to misdirect every decision you make. It's going to be influenced from terror. It could be terror of disclosing the truth to the public because they'll riot. No, the public won't riot. The hidden people that have done this for so long are in fear of what will happen to them if they tell the public.
Yes, yeah.
But the way it's being done is not going to create a situation where rioting takes place in the street. No one's going to be killed, put up against the wall, or any of that. Because the hidden leaders on this planet, classified in other ways, were manipulated through the misuse of extraterrestrial technology when they couldn't even see it coming, to get them to do what they're doing, to be in fear, to keep things secret, to keep this fight going. And that was designed by tyrant extraterrestrials, breaking an off-world treaty, influencing leaders here, particularly after World War II. Misuse of extraterrestrial technology, a technology the tyrants did not invent, a technology they captured during a war 500,000 years ago, and they were defeated. The technology allows them to put artificially created, fear-driven emotional charges in a subconscious, artificially created domain, in beings, not the body, in an energy field around the sphere that's the Atma or soul, through which it sees the universe with distorted images and feeling. That's artificial. Beings I work with, not from Earth, do not have subconscious minds at all. Anyone that has one is in trouble because things can be put in that to influence them that they don't know is there. Subconscious.
That was fascinating when I first heard that, when you described that, because it makes so much sense. And then I did have a question that someone had asked about, there was an organization called Ekinar, something like that.
I don't get into discussing organizations of
No, I know. That's not the question. The question is, how is the HU different from what it was, say, 30 years ago versus what it is now?
Oh, it's very simple. The HU, first of all, is the first half of the word human. No one can own or copyright that. If they try, they're in trouble in the long run. because it is not nuclear. It's not quantum physics. The hue is not made of electrons and protons and neutrons and quarks and black holes and matter and galaxies and dimensions in the lower worlds. It doesn't come from the lower dimensions at all of time and space. Most people aren't even aware of what the next parallel dimension is, much less way up above what people call the void. And yet all of it's real.
You spoke about
We will.
golden energy.
I'm not going to get distracted from this. You asked me a question about what the hue is. It cannot be controlled or owned by any group, organization, political, philosophical, or religious on this planet. They might put it out, but the difference between what it is now and 30 years ago or more is that there is a new energy field running through that omnipresent first sound behind and supporting all life. I call it the new ray because it's a new ray of energy, has a golden light to it blended with the white light of the omnipresent first sound. That's not nuclear. And it is moving from the upper worlds of the void into the lower planes of time and space under direction from the upper worlds for the first time to retire this old failed experiment we call evil, the cattle prodding test with negativity to get beings moving forward in the right direction, which backfired, does not work, never worked. And a good half of what you would call the source energy prime creator is stuck in bodies on Earth. What do I mean by that? Simple. We are spherical energy bodies, beings made of a type of energy that is not nuclear. It's energy, and it's conscious living energy. And we move and have our being in that omnipresent field of force. We can travel in it without the limits of the speed of light or physics hanging over our heads. Number one. That field of energy, that new ray that was brought into existence beyond the void, and I won't get into how that happened right now. People would not comprehend or understand it yet. They can, but they need to wake up their higher faculties first to do it. It is underway to retire what we call the experiment of evil in the lower dimensions of time and space. Earth happens to be in one of the lowest parallel dimensions of the physical universe.
Gee, that doesn't surprise me.
No. There's 144 parallel dimensions in each major division below the void. And there are planets and galaxies and life in all 144. Beings that have advanced technology and, for lack of a better term, spirituality or conscious awareness, enlightenment, can move ships and themselves in ships or out of body through those planes. The Atma can also go to the astral, causal, mental, etheric, across the void into the upper worlds. But nothing of any negative nature whatsoever can be brought across that void to the upper worlds, from whence we all came. What do I mean by that? We are this type of energy, what people and scientists on Earth and quantum physicists will call dark matter, or astrophysicists. They know it's not dark, it's just that when people see it on a time-lapse photography through the Hubble telescopes, radio telescopes, satellites, and they see all these billions of galaxies and all these pretty colors. The pretty colors are in frequencies of light human eyes can't detect. The devices they use to photograph them can capture them, higher frequencies, and they're beautiful. Human eyes can't see beyond a limited small spectrum. So when they look at these images from space, they see black as the background with galaxies moving around this huge void. Scientists on Earth even today know that black void is not black. It is vibrant energy. And in reality, the Atma, when it sees it out of its body, sees it as a white field of light between all stars and all planets, all galaxies and all dimensions, connecting everything together and supporting it all. We as the Atma are made of that very same energy, but from a much higher frequency. We come from a source or prime creator, which is not some guy sitting on a throne, not a dictator, not a tyrant. It is source energy. We're all Atmas, each of these individual pure drops from a mighty ocean of the same energy. We have the same energy in this one little sphere we are, that the prime creator source has itself, identical in every way. And that means we can create with it. We're meant to become trustworthy co-creators with that source from which we originated. If I say to people on Earth, how old are you? They think in terms of the body.
Yes, I do.
Some can't even think in terms of how many lives they've lived on other worlds and in time and space forever. They found themselves on this planet with all their memories suppressed, growing up with, how did I get here? Who am I? They think that's normal. It is not normal. Earth is not a normal human planet, not yet. So there are great vast hosts of races, human and otherwise, out among the stars, even in our own galaxy, that know who they are that isn't physical. They grow up with it. They made things like financial markets and money illegal a long time ago because tyrants use it to control people, to condition them to its use so they can threaten to take it away. It's just old tyrant stuff. Earth has not been exempt from the influences of such tyrants from other worlds. Earth has never been alone in the universe. No human being ever evolved on this planet. No race represented on Earth ever evolved here. Not one.
That's hard for people to digest sometimes, I've noticed.
Why? They digest without a second thought somebody teaching in theory in a college or university about
I know. There
are two humanoid species that went extinct. They have nothing to do with us.
Mm-hmm.
There is no proof anywhere in the world that anyone can provide that says a bone from somebody somewhere shows that this human form came from Cro-Magnon or Neanderthal man. We did not. They're never going to find that missing link on this planet. You know why? Because it isn't on this planet.
Yes. You know, you're the only one that talks like this about things of this nature, and that's.
I'm like a scientist, really, but not from Earth. Forget the PhDs on Earth. That's just theory. You know, you've got two classes of people on this planet. PhDs that learn from colleges and universities, get a PhD in some theoretical physics or science, and they teach theory and as much fact as they believe in. Then you've got the classified PhDs that are not allowed to talk to their peers, that work on projects involving extraterrestrials and their materials in science. The two do not collaborate. And those scientists know extraterrestrials exist on this planet, but they're not allowed to speak about it. Now, this is truth. This is a fact on this planet. People might as well get it in their heads. Since World War II and the creation of the National Security Act in this country, there are beings who've been able to deceive or be dishonest with all people in order to classify. Even the Supreme Court doesn't know about it.
Wow.
Third balance of power. Whole banking system set up separate from the regular run-of-the-mill so that most congressional and senators and Congress people aren't aware of it as well. They are not. And that way they can continue to work on funding such projects, supposedly for the defense of our country, but it's really just to develop weapons based on extraterrestrial stuff and have a one-upsmanship on some other country overseas, and they're all doing it too, which ends in annihilation. Ultimately, it's pointless, it's dribble, it's a form of insanity on a mass level. I defined insanity as this: anything you keep doing again and again, expecting to get different results, but you don't, is a form of insanity. Meaning people won't change. Okay. The only thing that keeps people from changing is fear of the future, fear of death, fear that they're a body and they won't exist anymore when this ceases, because they don't remember. Every single person on Earth, classified or otherwise, goes to sleep at night, right?
Right.
What they don't realize consciously that they're doing is putting that body into the trance state called sleep, so it'll breathe and snore with nobody home. And then they go out of their body every night. None of those people are brought up, even the most classified people, trained from birth to understand how to bring back the awareness to this body and download it when you leave it every night. So they're just blank. The fire faculties to do it in the Atma are there. They just have never grown up with it. They've got no conditioning as a child to even have any confidence in any of it. Dreams, they're made up in my brain, they think.
Everybody thinks it all happens in the brain.
Yeah, and it doesn't. I mean, I'll give you an example, proof of this, so people can stop asking silly questions and start remembering. Close your eyes. You close your eyes. Now you imagine a nice basketball, and you're throwing a basket in the hoop. Now you're on a ski slope. Now you're by the ocean. And you want to be on that trip a week from now to Hawaii. So you sit back and you look out the window, even with your eyes open. Your eyes see the trees out the window. But inside, there's another part of you that is looking at the ocean trip, imagining it. That is not made up in the brain. The brain matter is not designed to do that. There is no motion picture camera and screen to project images on in the brain. None. And what would it who would be watching if it reflected something in the brain? Who or what is watching that reflection? Is the brain cells watching the brain cells? Doesn't make sense, see? So in reality, without people realizing it, when they daydream, they are actually seeing something in some other reality somewhere else without knowing it.
Yeah.
That's how closed down and suppressed people are on Earth. They don't remember.
I didn't used to know that until we started talking about it. I didn't know.
Well, you know, I mean, I came to this Earth in an ambassadorial relationship more than 60 years ago in order to meet with certain people and governments to help them accept help from off-world. I, and not just me, but several other beings from different worlds came here as well. They were all turned down. People were terrified. Eisenhower was terrified of meeting with extraterrestrials, even nice vibing ones from huwoman, because they had the technology was so beyond us. If they wanted to trick us or lie to us, no, they could have kicked our ass in an hour. And he was allowed to meet with 2 different groups under off-world treaty, both tyrant, royal family, and non. And the ones that came here that he met with were carrying a device, illegal, that influenced the subconscious, not in a way that changes the personality or the sense of humor, but it misdirects their decisions. And that all started the whole classified system, which began with incorporating Nazi thugs, SS officers, into our country and in the Soviet Union, pardoning them and putting them to work on all this advanced technology, which they got illegally from certain type of extraterrestrials, Nazi scientists. And then they brought those people into our country, and all those little guys came with them. And the whole thing just goes on, not on a world war, but in a more classified, covert system of control. You control a few elite people on Earth, you get them to control the elected people, you get the elected people to control the people. That's covert control from off-world.
Yeah. How do we undo all this?
You can't. People on Earth can't undo what was done to them. It was done to them with technology and by beings covertly, beyond their skill set. It has to be done by beings who have decided to help set the beings on this planet free from such nonsense. So there are no more reptilians in bases underground or little gray guys abducting anybody on this planet. That stopped several decades ago. People today don't even know it. But what people are left with, including the leaders, is this subconscious misdirecting programming. And that has to go. So this world can change in a peaceful way and become a playful member amongst the other fellows in the stars. They would give us the technology at no charge. Ships, anything, if we could be trusted with it. Sure they would. We're fellow human beings. Many people on Earth were extraterrestrials on other planets. They don't remember those lives. But the beings out there for the first time are becoming aware that many of people they knew are unconscious on this planet in bodies, stuffed there without their permission. That's the condition of this planet today. Fortunately, that's all changing for the good of all life on this earth. And I don't just mean human, classified, royal families, the rest of the public, for animals and plants, the rocks, the trees, the water, the air, the entire planet itself is involved in this process. And it cannot be reversed by any power in the lower dimensions. It's one way. So we're going to have to get with this whether we like it or not. Free will does not involve deciding to blow your planet up and lie and cheat everybody. That is not free will. That is subconscious negative controls running that being, making such decisions. It's misdirection and nothing more. That's all reversible. People on Earth can't do it, but the people I work with, associates, wonderful vast hosts of beings on hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of world systems on many levels are involved in this now. Galactic Interdimensional Alliance of Free Worlds is the big organization located near the core of our galaxy. Any other organization you've ever heard about is a small organization within it. It's much bigger and deeper than what's been presented to the people of Earth so far. Even in the UFO and disclosure communities, they have no idea.
I know.
They don't yet, but they're destined to know it. I'll tell you how this works, just put it in a nutshell.
Okay.
Because people are so terrorized on Earth, they react defensively to even truth when it smacks them in the face. Even presidents have done that. Okay. So they made treaties with tyrant ETs to get extraterrestrial technology, their antiquated stuff, which was the biggest mistake anybody ever made here. And I don't blame them because they were manipulated. At the beginning of the CIA, they were all manipulated to accept this against their better judgment. And that's where we ended up getting some of these nasties from other worlds in bases underground and all of that. And they've been fighting ever since to get them out of that underground, to get them out of here, to break that association, because they found out shortly after they made it, they were hoodwinked and lied to. Duh. Tyrants are going to what? Tell you the truth? Agree to keep their word? I don't think so. So this has been a gradual process to get what runs the greater part of the galaxy, not tyrant ETs, these kind and wondrous fellow beings, to be able to, at one time, come here by the quest of all the people on this planet when they're free enough, and they'll land all over the planet, and this world will be changed overnight, virtually. The technology to do it is old, ancient, anti-gravitic warp engines and all that thing, not nuclear, not radioactive, our old technology, cures for cancers, master of the genome, switches on the DNA. That's old stuff, mastered. It's out there. And the beings that are out there that have it are not tyrants. They know that some of the greatest potential of co-creators to contribute with them are asleep and unconscious in bodies on Earth that used to be with them. There is no human being that ever evolved on this planet, which means every single person on this planet, every body race represented here, is extraterrestrial in nature. You didn't hear that on X-Files. You know, I'm telling you, this is the truth. It's like, when you speak the truth to people, it's a telepathic function. It's not just words here, there, and there is on this little Zoom thing. It's a telepathic function. It becomes an interdimensional doorway right into the core of their being, which is white like the sun. And then it has a layer of yellow around it, and orange, and red, and green, and blue, and lavender, and violet, and golden energy field. And it looks just like that, but it's spherical. Each layer has a number of these teardrop-shaped self-effulgent lights. And each one is a higher faculty. Many lives stored here, lives on Nerexlum, lives out there on Venus, lives here, lives there, lives in other dimensions. You carry it with you. How to know how to get from here to the Atma plane above the void known to Buddhist monks, because there are many planes above that they don't know about. How do you get there? You cannot get there unless you can remember what to imagine is there, because that puts an energy field out, plugs it into the omnipresent field of energy supporting all life through all the planes, and tells it to create the movement for you, and it basically takes you there. It's a co-creator with us. What people call divine spirit is not something you could blindly pray to and get your every wish fulfilled. Yeah. It doesn't do that. You have to imagine where you want to go and what you want to do with it, and it co-creates it. Unfortunately for people on Earth, they're busy co-creating two things at the same time. Want good life for myself and family, but terror of the future, nuclear war, and invasion from aliens, and bad guys, and bombs, and North Korea, and whatever. And they're putting this stream out from this, not this, and it's putting an energy field out into this omnipresent field of energy they call divine spirit. And it's co-creating both things right back to us. And because those are opposing thoughts and feelings, negative versus constructive, they ground each other and neutralize themselves to the earth, and people just stay stuck here. This is really how this works.
So we're always doing ourselves a disservice when we think in a negative manner in any way.
Mm-hmm. Because if you do, you're going, hello, omnipresent energy. Afraid of the future, reptilians are going to eat me. Oh, you want me to create that for you? That's not going to be fun. And that won't happen unless the person's so fixated around the clock on that, they'll create a circumstance where it might. But in general, they're also creating other things to have a happy life at the same time. And to do that, the two things kind of neutralize each other. I just throw the phones down the hall when that happens. No respect at all for it.
I managed to remember to shut it off for a change.
Anyway, so we're back to exploring hidden truth. And your show is named Free Range, which means we should be able to cover it all.
Exactly.
Right? You can ask any questions you want, but there's certain things that I do because this show is going to be on YouTube. It's important that it become a channel for something that helps wake people up. And this is not focused on just UFOites and disclosure people. It's focused on hidden government, classified people, men and women, their kids, royal families, the whole world, the animals, the plants. It's being sent out to all of them through this door because that's my job as a grounding point for this change on this earth. I came here. I didn't even know it for many, many, many years until I had a hand in co-creating with many others what's underway now. Because what was done to me that put me in a body here against my will, coming here as an ambassador and finding myself in a body with all the memory gone, when I had as a 3-year-old as an experience, was to discover myself out of my body as a fully mature extraterrestrial adult, looking at this little body going, what the hell am I doing on Earth? I knew from looking at the star patterns where I was. I had the intelligence and awareness of an advanced extraterrestrial being.
Wow.
What happened to me was meant to be done to me so that I would never recover, so that I could never tattletale on the beings who sneakily ran around and did it, breaking an off-world treaty with the Galactic Alliance to do it. And over 500,000 years, the people that are on Earth today ended up here one way or another through similar situations. And people, in order to get that influence to stop misdirecting their conscious nature so their higher faculties can turn on, they're going to have to confront one day what was done to them. It wasn't pretty. It's not easy to confront. But then that subconscious, most of which is artificially created to and built upon a basic experience to keep you stuck, that becomes nothing more than a memory. And once it's a memory, it can't influence your nervous system consciously anymore. And then people have the ability to start to really recover. This is what my work is about.
It's awesome work. And I feel honored to be able to help get the message out there as much as possible, because
well, it certainly took some courage on your part to do it. It wasn't what you expected it would be when we first crossed paths.
No, I didn't have any idea, but I love it. That's what I needed to hear.
You know, I get letters from people about other guests and other interviewed people that are trying, I guess, their best to reveal truth to people. And unfortunately, they're mixing fear of the future in what they do. And this is not only trapping them, but it's putting out an energy that does not benefit others, because it's fear of the future. And that says, tyrants out there, come on, you put this energy out, I want to join with you. And then they can manipulate those people. The beings that do it have the ability to stop that if they want to, by withdrawing their imagination from anything of a negative nature. And then beings, especially those that I work with and master teachers that work with races from the stars, can connect with them when they're out of their bodies at night in a kind way and help them be free of this terror. So they wake up different people. The beginnings of this work with people when they're out of bodies at night. Because when the body's put to sleep, when the brain and nervous system is shut down, what the being is really doing without realizing it is causing the pineal gland in the center of the brain to release serotonin, make melatonin, do things that put the body in automatic. Breathing and heart and respiration, snoring, eyes are closed, ears off, nobody's home. Nobody there. And then beings go. And most of the time they don't bring back anything. Sometimes they bring back a dream. Maybe once in a while a dream of flying in a physical body. How wonderful. They don't know is they were actually in a body on another dimension flying in that body. And they bring it back and it's just a phenomena to them. They forget about it and go about their day and gain nothing. Because they don't have any reality on what they're doing when they're out of their body. I'm speaking about people on Earth in particular.
Well, what's amazing is the pineal gland has rods and cones. And we see things when we close our eyes. So how do we do that?
Rods and cones don't see things when you close your eyes. They're off. They're designed to...
Not the eyes part, but the pineal gland?
No.
Did I misunderstand that?
Pineal gland is not the physical eyes. It is connected to the physical eyes, but it's a separate organ.
Yeah.
The rods and cones in it are not made to detect physical light that you see out of your body and the world around you. They are individual frequency-tuned rods that the Atma uses to bring back information from many different realities and be able to carefully download it into the consciousness you grew up with on Earth. That, by the way, has none of that in it. The brain you grew up with and body on this Earth and the experiences you've had have nothing to do with what you know as an Atma and have carried through billions of lives, billions of years. That is what we want to get recovered.
That's amazing.
Otherwise, you're just stuck on Earth with one lifetime and one body going, duh, what happened? Where am I?
Yeah.
That body didn't grow up training in any of this when it was a child. On other worlds, they do. There's a huge difference between a human world that's normal and planet Earth. Huge.
Wow.
Just unbelievably huge. And yet they're just human beings. On a much higher frequency, cleaner, they don't have pollutants in their water, air, no radioactive materials are legal. They're not used to get around the universe at all. They don't pollute their own water table, air, or misuse resources. There's no need for that. That's just subconscious misdirection by tyrants who've programmed people to use them as slaves to get all those resources for them. For the last 65 years or more, we've been shipping resources off-world under classified space program to get antiquated extraterrestrial technology. And it's a lie, a trap. And people in that community know they have been hoodwinked and lied to, and they've been wanting to get out of that bind they've been in, and they're getting assistance to do that now.
Thank goodness for that. Oh my goodness. It's just, people don't even know that. There's so much that people don't know.
People want me to wave a magic wand for them where they sit on their ass and do nothing to get themselves free and just change the world for them. This is not how it's going to work.
Do you think they just don't know what to do or how to do it or what?
They've been conditioned to think that somebody beyond them, bigger than them, a supreme being or a sage or anything else, is going to intervene and do it all for them while they sit there and do nothing. Because that is irresponsible and childish. How can you have a being, an Atma or soul, go back to some heaven and let it free to run around up there, bringing all the unconscious inability and lack of experience out there to just run things amok out there? It's not the way the universe works, really. If someone's going to be saved, the best way to do that is to get them to co-creatively save themselves. It takes courage to step away from the massive negativity that surrounds them on this planet by all their fellow human beings and the way things are run. And yet, through the new ray and the hue, it gives them a certain protection to do exactly that. And I share this openly with people. They're not going to know that protection is real or how it can protect them or what it does until they start working with it. And then they can find that out. Now I've got a buddy who wants to come in and join us.
Ah, okay.
Come on in, Starlight.
I know who that is.
This little kitty, people call an animal. But this little snowshoe, this little part Siamese, part something else, is a very avid out-of-body journeyer. Because there is a sphere, an Atma, like me, running that body. And he knows it. And he can get up with me and go on these journeys even into the upper worlds. And he's got a cat body down here. He's loving, intelligent, he's telepathic. And he tunes into these shows at some point when we're ready to go on a journey. He cries.
That's why I came in.
And then he gets up on my chair, puts his head down, he's out of his body, and we join him with many others. He's a beloved friend and a trusted friend. He's not even human. He's telepathic. So are we. People on Earth don't know this anymore. They just think it's intuition or a hunch. That's just suppressed telepathy. Human beings evolved billions of years ago to be telepathic. That people on Earth don't know anything about it anymore is not surprising, knowing what I know about what was done to them. So Starlight's at my feet. Do you want to be down there? Do you want to? Let's see. Where is he? There he is. Okay, so he'll do the feet thing today.
Yeah, my puppies are in the other room sleeping.
To get up on the chair, but he's already closing his eyes. So that's my signal, particularly from Ambassador Torellian. Who is he? Well, he is a human being, originally anyway. He's not from Earth. Human beings, if all races, skin colors and textures that are on Earth, originally derived their genetic coding from the Say rays. The Say rays don't have physical bodies per se. Over 1 billion years ago, they did a special kind of immortalization of those bodies. They actually dematerialized them and stored them in a teardrop in one of the layers of the Atma that they are. Then they move around freely, free of the law of physics and time and space. And when they go on a mission or go somewhere, they just manifest a body. They put out an imagination. This omnipresent field creates it on the spot around the DNA pattern. They get their job done on planets that need a body to look at, or they can't get it done. People don't understand. And then they'll just dematerialize it and move on. So the Say rays were responsible long ago in galactic history, and not just for this galaxy, to seed human and humanoid and other bipedal life and bring them up to spacefaring capability. And then they disappeared, just to sit back and see what we do with it. Consider them beings who knowingly work with the worlds beyond the void. And yet they live and move in the lower dimensions. And they've waited a long time to get to a point to where they can actually begin to influence the Galactic Alliance Core Council, all the hundreds of millions of worlds. Earth is in the path of what's coming. And so that people can get free of this unconscious nonsense about not knowing what they are that isn't physical. Because the universe has been stuck and stultified. The entire creation from its beginning has been stuck in the lower dimensions of time and space, and beings have been trapped there as Atmas, forgetting everything they knew and believing their bodies and all kinds of nonsense. If the universe is to take this wonderful creation, physical worlds and dimensions, astral, causal, mental, etheric. Astral is all emotion comes from there, moves matter around there. Mental, it's thought. You go up into the etheric and it's a thinner kind of a sheath around what the Atma is, and it lives a life there. There's very little negativity in that realm, but there is some. And then there's this big void that seems to have nothing in it. It's a barrier created to keep separated the upper worlds and the worlds of time and space, which are an experiment. We're all involved in that experiment. Why? Because we are this, not matter. This, what we really are, was not created by a supreme being somewhere that waved a wand and made us secondary creations of its mighty authority. No, that is the teaching of tyrants. We are individual drops of pure energy derived out of a mighty ocean of that same energy. And that source collectively together on a much higher reality, you could actually speak with it like a supreme being, but it's not a supreme tyrant. And it never requested or encouraged or asked us to worship it ever. That was not it. We were meant to go into the lower worlds, develop bodies, saviors were involved with that, play with the lower planes, and make them eventually mirrors of the upper worlds, which we have failed to do.
Yeah, never happened.
Never happened. So what is underway now in this new ray is the means by which evil as an experiment can be retired like the dinosaur.
I can't wait.
And replaced with an energy that only does one thing. Motivates all beings to create only that which is of an uplifting benefit for all life. That means the Atma, you and I, need to be aware of what all that life is in the entire grand multidimensional creation. You cannot respect all life if you don't know what it is. You can't get this freedom I'm talking about just respecting your neighbor or life on earth. It will not work. That's not our purpose. The human being's purpose for existing is to one day be a conscious, trustworthy co-creator with the source. All that stuff about worshiping it came from tyrants who wanted to control people, usually from kings controlling priestcraft to control people on the history of this planet and others, to keep them ignorant of who they are until they die. There's some promise of some eternal life somewhere. There's no proof anywhere on this planet anybody that's died has ever come back to prove it, because they're usually recycled here in another body unconscious, almost automatically, and they don't even know they're doing it. It's not a normal planet, not yet. So I want to share that with people. If they want to go on one of these journeys so they can see how the Atma really works getting around the universe that has nothing to do with the body, then I invite you to join me on this journey for your own benefit. There's no money involved. You're not being charged anything for it. Working with the hue, I can state factually, the hue itself, what it really is, has no negative nature in it whatsoever. Nothing of any negative nature in the lower dimensions of time and space, whether alien, extraterrestrial, on Earth, weapons technology, anti-gravity ships, interdimensional doorway portal machines, and everything else, cannot penetrate the new ray in the hue. It isn't in existence in a way that matter things can penetrate, but it supports and, in a sense, controls all matter behind it. Scientists on Earth know that dark matter in space is not only packed with energy between planets and galaxies. Most of it is all this field of living energy in which a few little things float, like billions of galaxies and different dimensions. But it's the space that it's floating in is massively, gigantically more vast than all the things floating in it. And it's that energy that we connect into telepathically on these journeys. It becomes our guide, but we also co-create with it where we want to go and what we want to accomplish. And because what I do is for the uplifting benefit of all life with friends from out of town, it works with us in this way. So that being said, I would ask people to get relaxed in a chair or lying on a bed. Gail, you can turn your mic off. We'll get a better recording quality. Probably with the light that's reflecting. It looks like I'm about to be absorbed into the light. Oh, I'm disappearing. Oh, look, there I went my head. Oh, no head, just light. There I am. That's me. Okay. Now you guys are seeing on the show what I really am. Okay.
Yeah, it does. It looks like you're moving into the light.
Oh, there I am. There I am. Oh, now you're looking at me. It's a sphere. Oh, okay. I'll bring my.
Yeah, over here too. It's pretty fascinating.
Hold on.
Amazing.
Yes, I was joking, but I also was not joking. Okay, we'll get a regular light on here so we control that. Okay, here's what we're going to do. First, let's define what the hue is. First of all, it is not owned by or possessed by. It is omnipresent living energy. It cannot be owned or possessed by any organization on Earth. So let's clear that right now. Different groups have put out the hue very rarely and only in modern times. I do not associate with, nor am I a member of, any organization on this planet, political, philosophical, or religious, because I could not come here to this world and do my work if I were. I'm not criticizing them. I don't put them down, but I endeavor to bring an energy of a new nature to people in any walk of life or belief that will make their belief alive and directly experiential, not just faith. Faith is a good place to start, but a terrible place to end up. Because if that's all you live with, you don't know anything when you die, just what you believe, not what you really know. And that's dangerous, basically, for the Atma, the soul, the being, because they're meant to know things with direct knowing perception, knowing certainty, like the source itself. We are made of the same thing. So what happened that keeps a person from knowing that? Well, lots of things did over billions of years. We're in the process of changing that for the first time. Then this universe that's already created, all the different dimensions and planets, does not need to be destroyed again like it has been in the past several times, and rebuilt and being sent into it, and still didn't change. Instead, leave everything in place, but change the way it's run. The beings that are in charge of running each dimension, put them through a change, so they're not tyrants anymore. Get all that changing, and you can change the physical world of planet Earth. You cannot change it from Earth as a being running a human body on Earth. You have to change it with beings above the void, in a realm that has no positive and negative stream. It's called pure positive. You create cause there, but no effect. It's not physics. The energy there is different. And when you create cause, it's for the benefit of all life. And it doesn't step on anyone else's toes. They all co-create with each other in serenity of being. No negatives. So we have to go into a journey like that and bring it back here if we want to change anything here. The laws of the lower dimensions of time and space are fixed. So this new ray and the hue running through it now through certain devices and beings is designed to unfix and unfinish the lower worlds without imbalancing them, so they can change for the first time. None of us know where the universe will go from here, except it'll be wondrous and unique, and more than anybody could imagine. It's all built, it's all done, it's all ready, but now we need to make the lower dimensions mirrors of the upper worlds and complete our original assignment. And that means beings like us, as spheres of energy, need to return to that source and download what we've learned from those countless lives, because each drop adds wisdom to the center and helps it change the way things are for the better. That was our assignment, to go and be representatives of the source as the source and bring back new ways of doing things from our experience. This is what is not been happening in the lower dimensions for billions of years. So we make that clear. When truth is spoken, the radiant core of our being, not the brain, begins to recover. Something stirs in it. It begins to remember. And new awareness comes to the surface of that being, and they actually change for the better. They begin to become masters over fear and negative emotions. They are all artificially created by tyrants, every last one. No being has a naturally occurring negative emotion. In the end, the only thing that's erasable from a being's experience through hundreds of billions of years, from the source to when all this was made to now, only negative things are erasable. The wisdom's drawn from them. All the positive, pleasurable things and wondrous creations are not erasable at all from a being's experience. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? Okay. Close your eyes, breathe in and out several times, taking deep breaths. And when you breathe out, whatever you're afraid of, I don't care what it is, death, nuclear war, chemtrails, reptilians, grays, tall whites, mantis, humans, other races, whatever it might be. Set it aside because your body is going to be put in the trance state called sleep. You're co-creating this. I'm not doing it to you like some tyrant. The hue flowing through me helps inspire this, yes. The new ray in the hue particularly. And this is a sound current, a sound frequency on many levels. But it's all coming from one source energy. Each Atma, each individual, originates from that same source energy. We have never been, at any time ever, a physical body. No Atma has ever been a physical body, but they have been twisted to believe it. Even live in one without even thinking they can get out of it. It's pretty sad. But it's undoable. So, put your fears aside. You can imagine a computer is all around your room, sticking it on floppy disks or on hard drives, and all fear, all negativity, not knowing, uncertainty, doubt, speculation, debate, arguing, all that, political views, everything. Just for now, put it aside, and you have the ability to do it. Then imagine someone you love and respect and you are grateful they are in your life, person, place, or thing. But when you first imagine it, it warms your heart, opens you, makes you smile. I think of Starlight, my little male kitty here, my buddy. And I'm just there in serenity of being instantly because I appreciate him so much. He's pure and he's an out-of-body journeyer and he's conscious. He's not what people think. So whatever it is for you, make it genuine. Then send out a statement. Understand that these words were constructed very, very carefully together, not by me alone, but by Terrellian, an ambassador of a mighty race of beings who aren't even physical anymore. They are just the Atma. But they were, and they helped bring body forms that we as Atmas run, like this human form, into existence a very, very long time ago. And they did not originate on Earth. They didn't even originate in the Milky Way galaxy, human beings. Get this straight now, or you're going to be lost on Earth, not knowing anything. Send out these words. They're constructed carefully to do one thing, to put a certain command of respect and humility into the omnipresent energy that underlies all life. Some people call it divine spirit without knowing what it is. It's really an energy, a living energy source coming from the prime source itself that supports and sustains everything. And it functions as a co-creator with us, and we're meant to co-create with it. So here's the way these words work. And when you listen to them, you'll understand why these words were put together this way. So your imagination only gets it to do something liberating and life-changing for you. The hue, when it's used, supersedes all previous negative, positive and negative creations. Bad, good, hatred, anger, all that stuff begins to neutralize it because it's not meant to be permanent. Here is what you send out. And remember, you're doing this telepathically, not psychically. We're working with an energy from above the void, beyond the psychic energies that work in the 4 lower dimensions. They're okay there, but that's not what we're working with. Here's what you send out. Safely show me deliberately hidden truth on a grand multi-dimensional scale and the much greater knowing of the expansive love within it. Pretty direct, very precise. Then I'll begin to send out these tones, working with the hue as I've been trained to do off-world, and for most of this life, mostly off-world, to be a telepathic vehicle co-creator so that this energy that comes through me to all of you is only beneficial. It is not of any tyrant nature. It will inspire you to co-create your own way out of the trap you're in. And it will bring across your path beings not from this earth who do not have subconscious minds, who can help you unravel this tight knot when you're out of your body at night, when you put the body to sleep. I begin these tones and raise them in tone pitch because I address different forms that you're running as an Atma on different planes you don't remember. At least most of you won't. It begins to get that form you're running on another plane to go into the trance state called sleep so that the whole Atma being can go on this journey, experience and see what it is and know, and then bring back to the awareness of those forms in your body on earth what we're doing, because that will change consciousness. I'll begin those tones now. When I do this, I practice what I put out. My body is in the trance state we call sleep. I have been trained and know how to work it so that I can speak to you, take a drink of water, but the body is asleep. I'm not working with the brain. This is a direct bypass from the Atma that I am through the pineal gland to the brain and the functioning body. This is so I can serve as a kind of guide to share with you what we're seeing, where we're going, so you'll have a visual image experience of the places we visit, and you'll see other things there that I don't have the time to describe, and you'll see other beings. You're perfectly safe because we are moving into other realities as the Atma, not the body. If you've closed your eyes and calmed it down, then your body is in the trance state called sleep in exactly the same way you put it in every single night. All of you know how to do this like experts. But unfortunately, you've not been brought up knowing what to do with it, or how to work it, or what it's even about. So this has to be awakened in you from the white core of your being. Consider that the sphere of energy is hovering above your head near the ceiling. You can imagine it several feet wide with a white radiant core like the sun. And when you're in that white core, you can look down on that body from the top and see the top of your head and the body in the trance state called sleep. There is a yellow layer of energy, which is a little bit slower vibration and away from the white core. Then it goes to an orange through the light spectrum, to red, to green, to blue, to lavender, to violet, and there's a golden, pale golden energy sphere around it. This is what an individual Atma or soul actually looks like. It is not an astral body. It's not a causal body. It's not a mental body. It's not an etheric body. It is the being running forms in all those planes. Why? To one day become a co-creator with the source itself, so that you can function effectively as an Atma in all levels, free of fear, free of negativity, free, period. Be above where you live, up in the atmosphere. If it's at night, even if it's overcast, you will see the brilliant panorama of stars in outer space. And you'll see a white light filling the distance between all stars. You can see the moon and the planet Earth, and there's a white field of light between them, supporting them, behind them. Earths and moons and galaxies and suns float in this supportive, non-nuclear energy. All energy gets its nourishment from this supporting field of energy. It doesn't matter where you are on Earth. It can be 1,000 feet in the air looking down on the roof of where you live, roof of a car, laying outside, laying down or sitting up, still and serene. The truth is, you, the being, control the nervous system and brain of that body. The brain and the skull is not designed to house the vast nature of information and awareness that the Atma can as a spherical being. But it can be trained and improved and changed to receive a great deal more enlightenment on the physical earth when the Atma is aware enough to download it. This is what enlightenment is for a physical form. The real enlightenment is what's taking place to you, the Atma, recovering, remembering what you are and how to move it around the grand multidimensional creation. You're going to do it when the body ceases to function anyway. So you might as well find out where you're going and what you're going to do before the body dies. Why? Because the fear of death vanishes. It's dropped like a lead brick. Fear of anything, particularly of the future, is dropped like a lead brick. It's a weight you do not want to carry. Imagine yourself being in space above the planet. That's right in outer space, hovering there as a spherical energy being, non-nuclear, radiant, luminous, You don't feel cold or heat. You don't feel radiation from the sun. You don't need to breathe air. And yet you can see a body appear right out in front of you, standing in space, about 36 years old, perfectly flawlessly healthy, and it looks just like you, perhaps luminous, but it's an energy projection of what you are on Earth so that others can see who you are. It's just energy. The physical form that looks physical here and the Atma that's spherical are both you. You can see beside me, standing near Gail, and a group of other beings in a circle as spherical beings with bodies out in front of them, surrounding a being, a very dear friend, Ambassador Torelian of the Say-Rays race. Now, he has a body form out in front of an Atma, which is a bit brighter than us, perhaps a bit larger, but an Atma nonetheless, and he has an 18-foot tall body standing there, quite a bit taller than us. Looks like a Greek god, long blonde hair. You can see one ear pointing out on one side, slightly pointed, not like Spock, but just slightly pointed like an L. Big, beautiful blue eyes. Bit larger than human eyes on Earth, as most extraterrestrial human eyes are. And he's standing kind of like a Greek tunic, and he's just standing there. He's given us 2 thumbs up, which he does. He's a man of few words. Now, this isn't just an expression. He's actually doing something. The Say-Rays are the most ancient of races. The Oceanians are about as old, a little younger. Beings from a planet called Xentronomus and from Das Ventalis, which is 5 galaxies away. And Xentronomus, which is on the other side of the Milky Way galaxy, are extremely advanced human races. They've mastered genetic science long ago. There are beings I know and work with, men and women, who have bodies 3.5 million years old, unaged. That's what they've chosen to keep as a focus for their people, particularly the leaders of the great vast world systems. Xentronomus people run systems that cover a little more than half of the Milky Way galaxy, and they've never been at war with any race. Wars took place in our half of the galaxy long ago. There hasn't been one for 500,000 years. People are saying and talking about wars in space, but this is not true. If there were, Earth and its people would be annihilated, and we'd know about it. Things like that have been kept from this Earth by beings who do not live here. So let's get the record straight right now. You can see a number of other beings in a circle begin to appear behind us. Gail, myself, Starlight, who's a spherical being like us, and you can see a little kitty body that I showed you on the camera at the beginning of this show, if you want to call it a show. And he's hovering, standing up on his hind legs with his tail glowing, and next to him is a wonderful friend, and his name is Etta, and he's a Dren. A Dren is not human. He's about 3 feet long from the tip of his nose, long snout, to the root of his tail, has strong upper and hind legs and upper arms, and dexterous fingers and feet like a human, 5 on each. Big bulbous blue eyes. When his mouth is closed, it looks like he's smiling about something. He's telepathic. He's a beautiful green, pale green color. He's not wet like a salamander. Sometimes I'll describe him like that, but a salamander's a tiny creature. This guy's 3.5 feet long. His body is comprised of a DNA derived from silica. It is not a carbon-based creature. He's very evolved. He's a master teacher. And his tail, he's standing upright on his hind legs, and his tail is glowing like crystal opal in bright sunlight. Behind that form you're seeing is the sphere, the Atma. This is a physical form he actually has on different planes, and it's the one he presents in above the void in the upper worlds as well. And he's teaching Starlight, the Atma that is my cat, how to fly and get around. They're great buddies. And then behind us, you see another several hundred beings appear in a circle around us. These are men and women you can see appearing out in front of the Atmas, running these energy projections. Different dress, beautiful, handsome, perfectly healthy, like us. And some have violet eyes or pink eyes, or cat-like eyes, or long silver hair, or no hair, taller, shorter, human, humanoid, non-human, some of them, bird-like, even lion-like, about 10, 11 feet tall, extremely powerful, but kind. And these are races the Say race helped to bring into existence a long time ago, brought them up to spacefaring capability, and then vanished. Turelian, ambassador of the Say race to the Galactic Alliance core, and to the Xeontramus people, basically to this whole galaxy now, is bringing in or ushering in a new type of energy that recently dawned upon their race, which changed their attitude. So they would get involved again with races that have really created quite a muck of things. There are beings called silent mentors, which are a different order of beings than Atmas or souls like us, that are the pure mechanics of the multidimensional creation. They keep everything running in the omnipresent hue, worlds turning, galaxies spinning, interdimensional doorway portals guarded or open, this kind of thing. They are the mentors of the Say race. One of my dear friends is the top silent one, or silent mentor. He has a name, but you'll have to discover that for yourself one day. I am like a prototype of being. What is happening now in creation is a subtle blending between these absolutely free beings that maintain the creation and have had no prior interest in the individual evolution of an Atma or soul, and master teachers who represent some compassion and love for all life. There is a blending taking place between the two, and it's being carried out up above the void known to many esoteric groups on Earth. So Turelian is here. The 100 beings surrounding us, several hundred actually, are men and women who have body forms like those that are being shown to you on ships and in the Galactic Alliance and in worlds on various parallel dimensions in the physical universe, and some of them are from higher dimensions. Some of them are master teachers and teach above the void at the Hue Expansion Ray Academy, a place that was created between the fifth and sixth realities, beyond the void, no more than 8 Earth years ago, in order to administrate and carry forward this new ray in the omnipresent first sound behind creation, the Hue. This is something all beings on Earth once knew, whether they know it now or not, or fear it. There is no negative nature whatsoever in the Hue itself. All misdirecting covert natures exist in and around beings in the 4 lower dimensions of time and space. Remember this. If you value your awakening and your own freedom, remember this. You will find out through your own experience that there is nothing of a negative nature whatsoever, nothing covert, nothing hidden in the you. Every possibility for you to recover and awaken who you are that isn't a body and resume your place is within the Hue itself, and your courage to co-create with it or not. It is not a tyrant. We are in space. Look around you. You've seen pictures from NASA of the billions of galaxies and composites of time-lapse photography of the Hubble telescope that show you just how vast physical space is. Billions of galaxies and billions of stars in each one, and trillions of planets and so forth. All true. Earth is by no means the only populated planet in our galaxy. It is one of the least evolved ones, not the worst, but it's near the bottom. And it's at a crux point. It's at a point where this entire planet can change to take its place among the stars and journey with other beings and play free in the material creation. Tyrant races of the stars have been corralled. not destroyed. They are undergoing a dramatic change for the first time in the entire history of the grand multidimensional creation. They have been escorted away from Earth. Now the problem is to correct the misguided subconscious negative emotional programs that are misdirecting people on Earth today. This is what our work is about. When you look out in space, you may see it as black because that's what you've been shown. Remember, the physical eyes on Earth, when they see a photograph or a composite from NASA about this, they'll see all this nebula and colorful stars. And these are colors that can be created from the instruments they use to see beyond what humans can see, higher frequencies of light. When you look at those photographs, they appear black. The space between objects appears black. But as the Atma appear in space, orbiting above the planet, just like the shuttle, you see from the core of your being the third eye. It isn't a physical eye. And you can see in every direction. And what you see is a white, brilliant light, laced with a golden essence, the new ray in the hue. And it fills the void of space. When you look down, you can see planet Earth with the polar ice caps. And you look at the moon and you see it's not turning on its axis. It's covered with meteor craters. There's little to no oxygen or atmosphere. And it's moving around the planet you're familiar with, always showing us the same face. The backside of the moon, they call the dark side, is not dark all the time. It moves around in front of the sun and it has daylight too. Just like the front side becomes gradually darker to a crescent moon and then it disappears. And then it comes back to a crescent moon, eventually becomes a full moon, but we always see the same face. The sun is way off in the distance. Billions of stars you can clearly see in every direction. But between them is this white field of light. Several of the beings, men and women, masculine and feminine forms, are approaching each person visiting on this trip. They will simply hover near your own body, hovering in space, and they will be talking not to the body, but as Atma to Atma, white core to white core. And they will introduce themselves as members of the Galactic Alliance. Others will appear as kind of like master teachers of Galactic Alliance people. And certain group or couple will approach you. And you begin to feel familiar with them, like you used to know them. Somewhere in eternity, in the past, you've crossed paths with these beings. And you feel uplifted by the energy they emanate. They mean you no harm. They are offering to assist you when you're out of your body at night, every night when you put the body to sleep, to help you uncover the terrorizing fear you have of leaving your body, to drop fear of the future, to not be afraid that you'll be caught by demons and evil people if you leave the body, because the fact is you've already been caught. You're on Earth in bodies with no former memory of what you knew, wondering how you got to be on Earth. That's being caught. Nothing else can be done to you. The Atma cannot be destroyed, not by a hydrogen bomb. You can blow it up right in it, around it. It wouldn't hurt it at all. It's not made of matter. It cannot be exploded or affected by things of matter. That you've been led to believe this is true is how you co-create your own destruction. If you imagine it long enough, this omnipresent field of energy will simply fulfill your request. My recommendation is to never use the imagination in a negative way, ever. Each being has the innate ability to know this, to have the discipline to only imagine what is good, what is constructive and uplifting for the benefit of all life. You will advance proportionally to being able to give respect to all life in the grand multidimensional universe. Now you're beginning to do that by respecting and appreciating the beings who have joined us on this journey. They are not from Earth. They did not evolve on Earth with subconscious minds. They do not have one. They're very well trained, very kind, and they will help you if you have the courage to request it. You have to co-create it with them. They are not tyrants. They may tell you their names. And if you can't get it now, you will. One day you'll just wake up with them. Or you'll be sitting drinking a cup of something at a table and they'll just come to you. And you'll sense a presence. Kind, uplifting presence, no negative nature. We're going to go on a little journey straight from the physical universe in space above planet Earth as Atmas, who can do this without the limits of the speed of light or time and space held over our heads. And Terrellian and I and a few other beings, Master Ramu and Master Opelum, who has pale blue skin. You can see him hovering next to Terrellian, the right side. Master Ramu with a maroon robe and short cropped black beard and curly black hair and sandals, holding a quartz crystal staff in his right hand, about 6 feet high with the Egyptian Ankh, sign for eternal life on it. And it's glowing with golden light. It's a device. He carries it so people will know who he is. And behind him is the Atma running this body. He actually has this body form on Earth, stationed in a parallel dimension, little higher molecular time rate frequency on Earth. And he can come and go from there to the world we live in secret, unseen, if he wishes. Opelum also has a physical body, his pale blue skin, slightly pointed ears, emerald green eyes, long silken black hair, about 6 feet tall, blue elephant gown, a simple tie around, kind of a, not a rope, but a kind of a tie around wrap around his midsection. He's holding up his hands so you can see little webs between his fingers. Not big, just little. He lifts his neck, you can see 3 little gill slits right here. But you wouldn't even notice if he didn't lift his neck. They are human. We have such close genetic structure we could mate with them, not that they'd want to, but they live on a world in a 3rd parallel dimension of physical time rate matter above the Earth you know, on the other side of the galaxy. A planet called Oceania, mostly water covered, and they can breathe underwater or on land. Such beings do exist. They aren't from Marvel Comics, although such things derive their vision of such beings from something they've unconsciously gotten in the dream state or imagined, thinking they made it up in their brain. They didn't. Beings out there are not involved in endless fights between heroic figures and all the dark forces kind of thing. That just creates more traps. The vast majority of beings out here now are not in conflict with anyone. Remember that. You're going to see a whirling pattern of stars, tiny blue sparkling stars, begin to swirl in outer space above our heads, bigger than this 200 group of beings hovering, Terrellian, myself, Starlight, Etta, Master Ramu, Opelum, several women master teachers. You can find out their names if you wish. And up above us is this vortex being opened. These blue stars spiral like the eye, like a camera lens, and there's a tunnel of moving energy clockwise. It looks like blue-green, radiant water. And it goes as far as you can see upward, beyond space, until you see way at the other end a blue atmosphere of some kind. And the next instant, as a group of beings in a circle around Terrellian and myself and others, we move up into this shaft. Actually, we're drawn up at tremendous speed. And as we're whirling upward, you can see through the transparent wall of this blue-green water-like luminous energy and see galaxies and planes vanishing below us. And when you look down, you see this tunnel following us, and where we were vanishes in orbit around planet Earth. And in the next instant, we find ourselves ejected out of the top of this whirling tunnel, and we find ourselves floating high in a blue, radiant blue, luminous atmosphere. Same group of beings. Turelian stare kind of in the center to keep us focused. He's not a tyrant. And you can see below you now that tunnel's vanished. And you see below you and around you a huge floating landmass that is circular, and a white luminous beach surrounding it, the entire circumference. And this entire landmass is floating in this blue energy field like an atmosphere. There are no moons, no suns, no planets, no stars. The atmosphere lights up the place. Below us are 6 mountain peaks, snow-covered, in an octagon, hexagon, 6-sided, yeah. And down in the center of it, on a blue pedestal that looks like blue lapis lazuli laced with gold, about 4 feet high, is a 4-foot wide radiant cobalt blue sphere that's transparent, glowing. And it's on a white kind of an island. And around it is a blue-green radiant lake set in the base of these 6 mountain peaks. This is the heart of the Hue Expansion Ray Academy. There is nothing of any negative nature here. We are now beyond the 1st or 5th realm of the Atma, where a being who runs that place called Satnam means true name or true sound. And we are in between that realm, which is just on the other side of the void, and in a special dimension between the 5th and 6th realities. There's no negative nature, no mental body, no causal, no astral, no etheric, and no physical body here. You have arrived back here as a pure Atma. Everything around you is of a pure energy. There is nothing of an opposite or negative nature. When you look down, you can see near a lower plateau towards the west, a tall, glass-like, smooth, round tower coming out of a 100-foot wide marble floor, white. And this glass is radiant. You can see through it. And it comes up to a flattened sphere, an administration area. And it goes up to a point. And that is the Hue Expansion Ray Administration Tower. At the base of this tower, at the end of the circumference of the white marble floor, are white roadways that extend like spokes from a bicycle tire in every direction, straight as an arrow, to end at the beach. And as they go on to the right side towards the mountain range, they enter tunnels. They go through the tunnels, and you can see all this as I'm describing it. Inside this 6 mountain chamber, down inside it is a huge cavern. And there is a shaft of this white light with a golden essence, the Hue Expansion Ray, roaring up and down through this cavern. And on the other side, the tunnels continue to white roadways that end on the white beach, encircling the entire landmass. Find yourself suddenly below the Hue Expansion Ray Academy, looking up the landmass from below it. Below you and around you is this radiant blue atmosphere. You look up and you see what looks like perfect quartz amethyst crystals, small on the outer edge that become larger to one giant one in the center, like a pole. And this beam of light is being beamed downward, white light with a golden essence and slight violet color, down into Satnam's realm, into the fountain in his garden. We haven't gone there yet. We'll go there on our return. Down through this light blue void, which people think there's nothing in it, down into the etheric, mental, causal, astral, emotional realm, and down into the earth, right through the top of your physical body head, harmlessly passing through you to benefit you and to benefit all life. In the Hue Expansion Ray Academy, there are many teaching facilities and masterful teachers and beings from all over creation that have been invited and who come here because they are now aware of the new ray in the omnipresent first divine spirit, if you want to call it that. but it's an omnipresent living energy that co-creates with us as individual Atmas and us with it. And it comes from planes far, far above the U Expansionary Academy, where we originate from. You might consider, oh, the plane just below here, first plane above the void in this realm, a demarcation point for the Atma, where it begins its journeys to run bodies in the lower worlds. The purpose was to run them consciously, not become them. Now here, you can see all that. When you look at the Western Road, think of this continent you're floating above, looking down on it, this big landmass. There's a north, south, east, and west, and out to the west, toward the left, past this blue glass tower, the roadway goes all the way out near the coast. And as it moves along in that direction, several miles away, you see little white roadways to the left and the right, all the way down it, and clearings with different types of luminous structures on each side of each roadway. These are teaching facilities. When you go down the white roadway to the left, the first turn to the left goes into a clearing with a tall white ivory-colored dome building. It is a botanical paradise surrounding it, and little rock fountains and waterfalls. Everything in the Hue Expansionary Academy is self-luminous, including us. There's no sun to light this place. It doesn't work like that. When you look in this blue energy, because hopefully you're now above this landmass now and not still looking up at the violet crystals, you're up on top, and you can feel like you're breathing in this blue atmosphere, like you have lungs, and it moves through you. It's really a pulse from the white core of your being, and it moves out. There is a direct link, communication between this blue atmosphere and you as a being. And if you look closely at this blue energy, you'll see there's a white light with a golden essence supporting, radiating behind it. That is the new ray in the omnipresent hue, the first half of the word human, hidden in plain sight. It's a fail-safe. It's what beings finally cross paths with it and begin to undo their unconscious journey for billions of years. They begin to return. And they do so by co-creating beneficial things for all life on their way. This is the way it's done. In that white tower, we're going to move down as a group of people, all of us, 200 beings in a circle, Torellian, myself, Starlight, Etta, Master Opel, and Master Ramu, several master women teachers. I won't name because they've asked me not to. They want you to discover this with them for yourselves. That's fair. And then you're going to see this tall, looks almost like a grain silo, but luminous, white, ivory colored, luminous. And you're going to find that we are suddenly inside this vast structure. And there are 3 semicircular marble seats, and these 200 beings who are visitors have come to observe what we do. And they're sitting down in bodies with the Atma hovering above it on these white marble seats. And in the center, under the center of this huge dome structure, is a blue stage about 6 inches tall. A beautiful blue, like a marble. And this is where beings stand in a physical form that looks like you but isn't physical matter. And then a sword appears above your head. All of you can do this at once. Why? Because we are in a plane where space and time are not involved. You can all simultaneously stand on that stage. And you'll experience holding your right hand up. Remember, you are an Atma running this form. And you'll see a sword that's 3 or 4 stories high, gigantic, huge handle. You can barely put your palm under the knob at the end of it. And it begins to put its full weight on you. Your task, and you are capable of it, is to simply realize that this has no weight to the Atma. This is the sword of truth. It's double-edged. It means you have to cut through any illusion with it. And you can't get caught in opposites, each side of the blade. Remain the shaft itself. And you see the mirror, what's called the mirror of God in some circles, but it's really a mirror of what you are. That's the same as the source itself. That is what this is for. And you're going to find that that weight will bear down on you, and then you begin to hew. And the sword is lifted up easily. And then you find you're able to levitate it on the end of your finger, index finger. And then you move it up a foot above your head, lower your hand, and just let it sit there. I know you're capable of doing it. What surprises the visitors with us, these master teachers from the Galactic Alliance and elsewhere, is that they are not able to do this yet. And they are dumbfounded as to why people as unconscious as those on Earth could come here and do this. That should tell you something about who you really are and your potential when you recover who you are. It's like passing a test to create safely and for the benefit of all life in the Hue Expansion Ray Academy. Why? Because what you create there with others can change the lower worlds, including Earth. Because this plane and those above it are master over all material creations. The consciousness in these planes is changing for the first time. So, if you get rid of the concept of good and evil here, which has been done, then they are motivated to actually change how the lower dimensions are administrated. The nature of the devil and evil and cattle prodding covert beings is being done away with, as they are more terrorized than anyone else. They cause evil and strike out to suppress other beings because they're afraid if they don't do it first, it'll be done to them. It is a primary negative implant. All that stuff is erasable in all beings. At this point, it is the only way that any of us will ever experience freedom as beings again. The freedom to traverse the multiverse, to travel here, to travel back, to travel in the dimensions between here and Earth, to travel to other worlds. What I can share with you now is that the races of beings that are extraterrestrial, that have come here as Atmas and shown you their body forms, are involved in this process of retiring evil as an experiment across the universe. You're going to find that there have been giant four-sided golden pyramids with quartz caps, devices that have begun to manifest between stars in the Milky Way galaxy. There's one floating in the asteroid field between Mars and Jupiter. 3 are on planet Earth, 2 in its deepest oceans on the ocean floor, 1 inside a mountain in Tibet. They are turned on. They work under the principle of assisting and providing the energy for those beings that are adept enough to do it, to help people when they're out of their bodies at night let go of the trap they're in. And then when they wake up, they begin to change. It's a safe way of doing it. It's a non-combative way of doing it. And it's the only one that will actually create results. Good against evil just creates more good against evil. It's a waste of time and space. Then you find yourself hovering above the Hue Expansion Ray Academy outside, and you're looking down these roadways, and you may be curious to know what other kinds of teaching facilities are all over this huge floating circular landmass. There is no negative nature, emotion, or thought here. Each of you cannot bring that with you when you cross the void. You will find this out under your own direct awakening experience anyway. So I will tell you the truth of it. But my encouragement is that you have the direct experience awoken within you as well. We could go many places, and we will go other places, but this is important to establish you above the void and then bring the awareness of this journey back with you to Earth. And you're going to find yourself suddenly blurring in the speed of light, all of us out of nowhere. No tunnel, just boom. and you find yourself suddenly hovering in circles around Turelian above the Earth. Now I want to show you something special. The Earth, as you look at it with the polar ice caps and barren moon, suddenly moves like a heat wave, and it changes into a different Earth, a world with no polar ice caps, the same place. Ocean covered, large continent centered over the equator, rising up almost to a third of the way between the North Pole, down towards the left hemisphere, then going down to a third of the way above the South Pole. It's a huge area. Down at the bottom of that point is a half-moon crescent-shaped green sandy beach, glowing. You can see it from space. And off to the left, you see the moon that's crater marked and no atmosphere suddenly transformed. And it has no polar ice caps. It has a full oxygen atmosphere, clouds and rivers and waterfalls and lakes, 5 dome cities on the front, people walking in them and outside on the surface. As the moon turns, you see several large dome cities in the mountainous region. It is turning on its axis as it moves around the planet. This is an Earth and moon that actually exist. It is in what is called located in a third parallel time rate, molecular time rate, a whole parallel dimension that exists, a real planet in physical space on a higher frequency. You guys walk around on this Earth every day and pass right through it without realizing it. But coming from the Atma plane and higher, we can come down and see this. And as you look at this, you see the sun way off in the distance. And you look down at that emerald green beach and you wonder what that is. And it's very inviting. It's a beautiful green emerald color that's luminous. In the next instance, you find all of us spread across this crescent-shaped beach, and you look down and you find your hand and feet, bare feet, sinking in this emerald green sand. And you reach down with your fingers out in front of the Atma, looking at it. And it's polished, little tiny polished, pure emerald crystals that are luminous, each one. And they make your hand feel uplifted. And you feel this green energy coming up your feet. And you look down the beach and you see all these other beings from the Galactic Alliance, and Etta and Starlight and Ramu and Opelum, some master teachers, and 200 other beings way down this beach, putting their feet in the sand with an Atma hovering above them. And you look behind you out in the ocean, and there's Turelian, 18 feet tall, standing in the ocean up to his knees. And there's a big old Atma hovering above his body for me. He's got his thumbs out. The energy of this beach comes from a man and a woman from a race called Xantronamus that live on the other side of the Milky Way galaxy, and they put a certain statue inland. We won't go there this time. We've been there before, but she charges this beach, and it's a gift to visitors. You are standing on the continent of Lemriel, as it is known on this planet, on a planet with no pollutants in the air, the water, the land, no radioactivity. There are few people living here, several dome cities, one at the base of a snow-capped mountain you can see off inland past the jungle, and a brown moss-covered path leading straight as an arrow back a mile, and you can see a white marble floor and a statue of a woman with big wings sitting in there in the middle of it. Their hands out glowing, and you can tell the light from those hands is charging the speech. The energy that is green is about recall and remembering. It moves up your legs, up to your torso of this perfect form you have there, and you look up smiling, and above you, you see you, the Atma, looking down at this smiling physical representation. Both are you. The green energy continues in a beam up to the white core and is dispersed out into the green layer, into individual little teardrop shapes, turning some of them on. This is important. When you look in the distance over the top of the ocean, you can hover up over the sand now, and you'll see a dome city covering 3 4-sided golden pyramids with quartz caps at the lower plateau above the single snow-covered mountain off to the right. And there's a waterfall cascading out of a cavern opening 2/3 of the way towards the summit, dropping down a sheer cliff face thousands of feet. It's luminous, has a phosphorescent type mineral in it. The dome covering the city, you can see a lake in the center, a small semicircular mountain range put inside the dome for the aesthetic pleasure of its occupants, and little white marble roadways between individual ivory-colored domes. And off on the other side of the lake towards the background are these 3 massive pyramids in triangular formation. At the base between them is an elongated ivory-colored dome. It is a scientific area. Out in front of this dome, you can now look down on it from above because we're all over it now. You see 3 blue disc-shaped pads and 3 galactic scouts parked on them. Blue-gray metal, kind of a cobalt blue almost like glass-like top, on 3 tripod legs. They're off, they're just landed. Up above the waterfall cavern opening, you can see another cave opening with little spherical lights leading inside the mountain. That goes to a special base inside the core of Mount Shasta in Northern California. The base that was created by kind extraterrestrials in 1908. It's in a slightly higher parallel dimension. It is not vulnerably penetrated or attacked by anything on Earth. And it is because of those beings there that have kept this planet from having a nuclear war. It wasn't because the people on Earth didn't try to push the button, because they did. We have not been alone, fortunately. And then you find yourself in space above this planet, looking at this beautiful moon full of life, the green emerald beach, inland, the statue of a woman. Further up, the brown path leads up into the base of the dome city and the mountain, snow cavern, the waterfall, blue-green forest trees surrounding the base of this dome. And then as you look down on the planet from space, you see the word Lemuria appear over it in golden glowing letters, and it fades. And then Mu is their name for it. Mu fades. You can see a continent on the other side of the planet, right through it, 2/3 its size, and it says Atla, fades, Atlantis, fades. This is a world that has been protected, and it's been here for eons. It is a prototype for which the Earth and Moon as you know it will become changed. It is already in existence. Nothing of a negative nature can enter here and never has. It is manned by master teachers, members of the Galactic Alliance, the Say-Rays, Oceanans, and others. And you can see that there are no polar ice caps on this world. And you see the moon hasn't got them either. Their environments are well maintained. And then you see a heat wave pass over the planet and the moon. And now, on a slightly lower parallel time rate, molecular time rate, you see the Earth as you know it, with polar ice caps and the barren moon. And you find yourself hovering above the atmosphere where you live. You're bringing the awareness of this journey back down to that body that's never had this kind of information or experience. And you find yourself hovering near the ceiling as a spherical being above that body. And you send a beam of this green light right straight down in the pineal gland, the center of the brain. It knows what to do. It kind of lights up the brain cells, makes you smarter, passes through you, down through your feet, and out into the world. You're co-creating with it for your benefit, enlightening recover, and also for the benefit of all life. Now when you're ready, open your eyes. That should have been uplifting for you, Gail.
It was wonderful. Yes, it was a reminder of places I've been before.
It's always different. You know, I'm trying to keep this close to home. I realize that people would like to go see billions of other planets, but they wouldn't necessarily learn very much that way. They'd see a lot of stuff. So I take them into a place, a planet Earth, that is not like the world they grew up in.
Excuse me, I have puppies squealing.
Puppies, plural?
Yeah, they're in the bathroom, so they want out. But
Let them out. Go, let them out. They're beings too. They
okay, hang on a second.
Anyway, I'd like everybody to like to see them. So cute. Look at my starlight. He's still out. Down at my feet, hanging out with Etta.
Okay, babies, come on out.
They're so funny to watch. They just play and dart around, goof off with each other.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me show you.
Have you got one there?
Yeah, let me show you the little one. I gotta.
Oh, look at that.
They're cute.
What little bunches of lovey bunches. You know, think how smart and intelligent. Did you know no animal, no puppy, no cat, no bird, there's no such thing as a brain and nervous system that runs itself. People on Earth are so dumbed down. I can't blame them. They've had so much done to them, they don't even know what's done to them. Anyway, an Atma has to run any form for the nervous system to work. It's just a genetic entity.
Mhm.
A human
So
being,
even the little puppies have Atmas.
correct. A human being runs at 98.7 degrees Fahrenheit. It's a kind of a device, an apparatus, you might say. And it doesn't run itself. The Atma departs, the being just drops its head and drools or dies.
Wow.
The Atma can leave at a distance like we've done and keep it perfectly safe. Because the hue energy itself that is comprised in the core of an Atma has a link to it through the pineal gland, and it's not penetratable by anything of a negative nature. And it runs that body every night when they go to sleep. And they go, just like we did, only the Atma was kept conscious through my voice so they could remember and see what they're doing. And in this way, in a short period of time, we can go all the way up through the dimensions into a realm where change there results in change here. That's why I try to get people established there, understanding what that is. And I wasn't going to do that for years, but Torelli and some other people encouraged me to begin to take people on such journeys, even on these radio shows. There's so much more I'd like to share. But people have to get grounded with this first and get confident and comfortable with it. They're never going to be harmed. And the more they experience how uplifting it is, how conscious,
Yes, it is.
then they will create more and go on greater journeys. That's the way it works. So Gail, you
I
have
can
any
see a total
questions?
change in my, whole.
Remember, this is energy you're going to send out for the benefit of your son, too.
Yes.
You're not going to change anybody. You're just going to let it change them. But it only works in one way, for the uplifting benefit of all life. That's what you're sending out.
That's beautiful.
Then you don't have to worry about getting caught in all that conflict and, putting your fists up and boring. No, thank you.
You're
Well,
right.
if you want, I can stop the show now and bring it into it. So
Okay.
we have a recording you can put up on your YouTube channel and get it out to people.
Okay.
Give you a suggested title and text. You can put it up there. My websites will be listed there. I also want to mention, while we're here, these two books.
Please do.
Because this book, The Emerald Doorway, shows a mile-long Galactic Alliance Emerald Star Cruiser right here. Reach control windows, same on the other side. It can move through interdimensional doorways either way. These are galactic scouts, 3 of which we saw parked on the landing pad near the Dome City. That's the planet Saturn. The ice rings that this is hidden in an electromagnetic field that surrounds the craft, same as around these ships, is made of ice. The rings of Saturn are water.
That's amazing.
Amazing chunks. And this book is about extraterrestrials, good and bad, but really more about how the beings out in the universe have recently changed, what they went through Mark Sanfield and Janice Carter and their experience of being unconscious on Earth and how they recover who they are. There are techniques in the back of this book, one for the prologue and one for each of the 29 chapters. They are designed to help people with the hue and going on these journeys. When they come back at night from the morning after being out of their body and they have a dream they don't understand. They were on a spaceship, they were flying in a body, and they want to get more awake in that area. You find the chapter that most resembles the hidden truth that's revealed in it, like your experience, and you apply the technique to it. And it works. Consider this book on Earth like an interdimensional doorway, an invitation to safely explore the multiverse again. The Emerald Doorway, book 1 of the Parallel Time Trilogy, you can see this is a representation of the source or prime creator, what it looks like, God, if you will. Yet these beings right now in this story, including Etta, little levitating Dren creature, they're hovering on anti-gravitic discs. They've left this ship stationary. This is a doorway opening to the 5th dimension above the void. And this entity has come down from higher dimension through here and is being introduced by this master teacher, Ramu. There's his golden staff. If I can get it in focus, or people can go to the website at paralleltime.com and see it much more clearly.
Yes.
But these people have one of these hovering above each of their heads, just like this. This is an awakening this master teacher's putting Melina with pale blue skin. She's Oceana, Captain Caleb. She's like a Caucasian male, but not from Earth. Etta's a Dren, silica-based. And this is a representation in real 3D of what the Atma, the individual being, looks like. What people on Earth call soul, has structure. And it's not one of these that it runs. So you're going to find out more about a hidden history going back more than 100,000 years to what happened on Earth when the poles flipped overnight 180 degrees, destroying all the lands. Lemuria, most of Atlantis, all but a remaining volcanic island. Back that far, Atlantis was 2/3 the size of Lemuria, on the centered over the equator on the upper side of the planet, the other side of it. So this is more about extraterrestrial involvement on this Earth, good and bad, and how it's influenced the way the world is today. There are 30 illustrations in this book about characters and scenes, very clear. So that's another one they can explore and put the pieces of the puzzle together. These are published because if they weren't, no one on Earth could get them all over the planet. So they got to buy these. But these shows I do, these travels, there's never any charge. None of the videos at the website or radio shows I've been on, there's no shopping cart at my websites. Just links to Amazon or Barnes & Noble or iTunes directly to where they should go to get these works if they want them. And I have a produced album out here called Stranger on a Lost Island.
Oh, it's done. It's ready.
Oh, yeah.
We play it at the end.
There's Master Ramu. There's Melina. Characters in the Emerald Doorway. You can see a golden sky reflected in the water. She's getting off a boat. She's walking up these steps. And he's going to take her through this opening into our galaxy to Earth. It's called Stranger on a Lost Island because it's about the Lost Island, Earth.
And we do a little clip at the end of the show for you to hear, and it's wonderful.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you, Gail, for having the courage to do this. I want to wish everybody happy dreams. Endeavor to put in the effort in an effortless way and explore the techniques that are offered in these books for your well-being. Go on the journey, replay this after it's up on YouTube, and you'll find that if you create a time and a space where you won't be disturbed for a couple hours and go on it, you will get much more out of it the second time around.
Yes, that's true. I can vouch for that.
Each person will be co-creating their journey as well. So I want to wish everybody, until next time, keep your stick on the ice as a Canadian.
Thank you so much,
together.
God. It's always a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Bye for now, everyone.
I'm a stranger on a lost island, somewhere in the universe. Stranger on a lost island, on this island Earth. I'm a stranger on a lost island, somewhere in the universe. Stranger on a lost island, on this island Earth. When I was just a little boy, I was different from my friends. Looking up in the stars at night, I'd feel homesick loneliness. I'd share a vision of a faraway planet where I once was given birth. Then reminisce of past civilizations no history reveals about Earth. Wide-eyed in fear, my friends stared at me, too confused to understand. They walked away in haste to spurn me like I was quicksand. Now I'm a stranger on the lost island, somewhere